Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to thank and pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hi everyone, and welcome to Room by Room, the Home Organization Science Insights podcast, produced by LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. We're champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element, with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Gabriella Yastra, coming to you from Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. Let's begin.
Welcome back to Room by Room, the Home Organization Science Insights podcast. I'm your temporary host, Marie, and today we are going into how home decor ties together with color and lighting, and it encompasses such a variety of factors from functionality to visual appeal to compatibility, and honestly, there's a lot that can go wrong here. So in this episode, we're speaking to CEO and Principal Designer of CNC Home Design, Natalie Meyer. Hi, Natalie. Lovely having you on the show.
Hi, Marie. Thank you for having me.
So as an interior designer, what are some common mistakes homeowners often make when they are mixing color, decor, and lighting together?
Yeah, I think some of the biggest mistakes that I've seen is sometimes when clients are putting together spaces on their own, they're kind of doing it without a plan. They're not really thinking of their room as a whole or even how one room can feed into the next. And they're just kind of picking individual colors and pieces, not really giving much thought to how that room is going to look overall cohesively.
Yeah, right. And it sounds like there's a lot of planning to do there that can sometimes be an oversight if you're not a professional.
Absolutely. Even just from a functional or space planning perspective, figuring out what size furniture pieces will fit best in your space, all the way to looking at all of the different colors and fabrics and textures and patterns, making sure that all of those look cohesive together as a whole too.
Right. Now, that's a great preface for our topic for today. But before we get further into detail, we'd like to get to know you better. This is Have You Met Natalie? And my first question for you is, what is your favorite book?
Gosh, it's so hard to pick a favorite because I read all the time. I'm constantly reading. But one of the books that I read recently over the last few months that made an impact on me was How Are You Really by Jenna Kutcher. She's also a female entrepreneur, and her book really gets to the root of this crazy busy culture that we seem to have created for ourselves. If you've noticed, if you ask someone, how are you? Normally their response is good, crazy busy, but good. Her book gets to the root of no, really, how are you? Underneath all of your busyness, your tasks, your to-do list, how are you feeling physically, emotionally? And so that book just really spoke to me because it reminds me not only to, ask others that question, but also ask myself if I find myself in a busy season of life.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, and I feel like a lot of people can take a page out of that book for sure, especially because I feel like there's a general consensus here that everyone's kind of just saying, "Oh, I'm fine, thank you," but they aren't actually fine, and we kind of brush it off and don't really probe further out of, I don't know, it could be a fear of not wanting to pry or just general what do you call it, indifference, but it does remind us to slow down a bit and do actually check in on how our peers are doing. So that sounds like a great book to have. What are some of the other things that she touches on in her book?
She touches on, like you mentioned, checking in with peers, but also checking in with yourself. And really, rather than just kind of plowing through your day, checking off all of the tasks on your to-do list, really paying attention to your emotions and the physical aspect. How are you really feeling? Are you feeling like you need to have a break or a nap or a rest or a vacation? Or are you feeling energized? Are you feeling healthy? Are you feeling well rested, like you're fueling yourself really well. So she looks at it from like a holistic and physical standpoint too, covering like mental, physical, every aspect of, your mind, your body, to make sure that as you're going about your day, getting your work done, raising a family, doing all the things, that you're just making sure to check in with yourself and give yourself what you need, whatever it might be on that level.
Yeah, it actually does sound like a great companion to journaling. If you ever journal, that sounds like it could provide quite a few prompt ideas. So it sounds impeccable. So my next question for you is, what do you like to do in your spare time?
Yeah. So when I'm not designing and I'm not reading, you can usually find me spending time with my family. We like to take advantage of the summers here. So, we'll spend time at the beach or go to the lake. And I'm also really into exercising. So we have a Peloton. So I'll do a class, I'll do a yoga class, or even a daily meditation, just something to, kind of get me moving, get those feel good endorphins going in the morning and help me feel really prepared and ready to take on my day.
Yeah. You just mentioned about going to the beach with your family. That
Mm-hmm.
sounds adorable. It sounds like such a fun time. But when it's not summer or during the warmer months, what do you like to do with this family?
We usually, if it's the winter, we'll stay cozy and have a fire. Maybe we'll go ice skating.
Oh, that sounds so nice. I
Yeah.
always wanted to sit by a fire. I think I've only done a campfire before. I've got to sit by a fireplace at some point. It has to be done. Um,
hmm
do you like roasting marshmallows too?
Oh, yeah. When it's outside and we have a little campfire going, yeah,
Oh
definitely
yeah,
love to get into roasting
yeah.
marshmallows for sure.
Oh,
The kids try to eat
yeah.
them before we can cook them, but that's okay.
I don't get that because like they taste so much better once they are burnt.
100%, but they
But
can't wait
like
that long.
yeah, but
Yeah,
kids don't have that like mentality. They're just like, I see, I eat.
exactly.
Yeah, do you guys do s'mores? I'm aware that s'mores are like an American thing, right?
Yeah, with the graham cracker, the chocolate, and then the marshmallow,
Oh,
you make a little sandwich.
yeah, I saw that a bunch on as a kid when I was watching Barney and Friends, and they were make believe s'mores. I don't think they were actually real. I feel like the actual graham cracker was just a piece of cardboard, but oh my god, it looked so delicious.
Yeah,
Um,
amazing. You have to do
yeah,
it. hmm
yeah. Do you have a like like do you have a specific way you like to do your s'mores?
I just like to get mine to where the marshmallow's that golden brown before it gets like super burnt. So it has that little bit of crisp on the outside, but then it's still nice and gooey on the inside.
Yeah. Any preferred brands or types of chocolate?
Feel like Hershey's chocolate bars are always the go-to because you can break them in the size pieces that perfectly fit on that half of a graham cracker. So it's just a natural combination for s'mores.
Right, good. I am going to need to do that. I'm also going to need to think about um, a replacement, like a substitute for graham crackers, because we don't have that here. So I think just
Oh,
digestive
yeah.
biscuits. I don't know if that's blasphemy, but
That's okay. You got to work with what you have.
yeah, we have to we have to be resourceful.
Mhm.
But apart from all of your pastimes, as far as interior style goes, what have you been leaning towards, or and what's your favorites?
Yeah, I would say probably my go-to or my signature style that I tend to lean into is a like coastal style of interior design because the colors and the patterns and the textures that it incorporates, it's a lot of light neutral tones. It's, warm natural materials like woods and rope and linen and things like that. It makes you feel like you're on vacation. And I feel like it's that feeling that I always try to incorporate in those designs is whether it's in my own home or for a client, like capturing that feeling of like you're still on vacation and just kind of bringing it home with you so that you have those little reminders throughout your home to relax or enjoy yourself or have fun.
Yeah, for sure. And the home is such an important place where, you kind of have to make sure that you're able to be productive and also wind down. You don't want to be constantly feeling like you just want to get away from your home. That's just counterproductive to how the home should feel. So that's a really good way of approaching it. Apart from coastal, though, are there any other interior styles that you have had a little bit of a spark with?
Yeah, absolutely. I've had clients that are looking for more of like a modern masculine type style. So we did a lot of dark brown woods and leathers and more of like a darker, moodier color
Yeah.
palette, things like that, and bringing in tones of, brushed bronze or gold or something like that. And then I've also had clients come to me looking for more like lighter contemporary color palettes. So it's a lot more like grays and silvers and pewters and glass and things like that. So I've
Yeah.
seen a variety of styles so far.
Yeah, I have to say that the dark and the moody style, while it's not my personal style, it is very, very sexy. Loving the charcoal gray and the forest green kind of these two colors always just fit so nice into that scheme. And it's always such a pleasant sight, even if it's not something that speaks directly to you. You can really, really feel how someone's personality is through that like interior design style. So it's always really interesting to see. But apart from all of that, is there a role model that you've had in your life?
Oh gosh, I've had so many role models. I would say one that immediately comes to me, like one that is actually in my life, is my husband. He's probably the most selfless person that I know, and he just takes care of everyone. He does so many things, and he goes about it and gets it all done, and he does it as if it's like no sweat. And he just inspires me to be a better version of myself and better person.
Yeah. Oh, that is so sweet. I really hope to have that with someone someday. So yeah, I really, really love that you can look up to your husband and your partner that way. I'm sure he feels the same way about you too.
Hopefully he'll listen to this too. So
Hopefully. Thank you so much for sharing some of that with us, Natalie. I feel like we got to know you a bit better. Now we'll move on to the interview section. And my first question for you is, what is your definition of home organization?
yeah, sure. I would say home organization is it's not only being able to find what you need when you need it, but also making sure that the things that you use every day, your everyday essentials, are easily accessible and right there when you're looking for them or when you need them. So anything from maybe storing your coffee mugs in a cabinet right above your coffee maker so you can easily reach for them when you're making your morning coffee. Or if you have designated hooks by the door that you use to come in and out of your home for your purse or your coat or your keys or things like that. So you can grab them and head out the door even quicker. Or even just the items that you store in your bathroom, paring them down to have just your everyday essentials that you need to get ready every day, just so that you're not having to rifle through so many products and just streamline your morning routine. To me, that's home organization.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. And in your opinion, what is the importance of being this organized at home?
I think organization can just help bring like calm and peace and even some predictability to your home, which, if you happen to have a busy lifestyle, if you have a demanding job, if you're raising a family, things like calm and peace can be valuable to you. And I think just knowing that you can find what you need when you need it can give you a sense of calm, but also give you just the confidence to be able to tackle your busy day ahead because you know that you're going to be able to access what you need just when you need it.
Yeah, completely. I feel like peace and like peace, that peace that you were talking about is more than valuable. If anything, it's essential if you have that much of a busy schedule as a parent, as a full-time parent. You are going to need that organization in order to function decently. So that's a really good way of putting it too. And when it comes to home organization, what are some of your basic principles that you like to abide by?
I would say my most basic principle is to declutter. First, go through the things you have and really be honest with yourself about what you really need or what you're actually going to use. And I know this is the hardest step because I think a lot of people, when they think about home organization and trying to stay organized, they think that they need like a system or a set of bins or baskets or hangers or, containers to put in all their things. But really, the first step is to go through what you have and eliminate what you honestly and truly don't need or aren't going to use. Like, do you really need 30 different coffee mugs, or are you probably just going to use your 10 favorite ones over and over again? Or especially with clothes, I know this is probably the hardest aspect, especially for women. But if you have an outfit that, let's say, used to be your favorite outfit, but just doesn't fit, even if it has sentimental value, if you know that you're really not going to wear it, just donate it or put it aside. And all it's going to do is, if you declutter, go through that process, it's going to free up your home and give you some more space for those things that you truly love and enjoy and are going to use every day.
Yeah, I personally do experience this challenge quite frequently, I have to admit, where I can't seem to get rid of the 30 mugs that are lying in my cupboards, even though I use one on the regular, because half of them have some kind of sentimental value or are just plain funny, and I just want to have them. Do you have any advice for how to like systematically declutter those things?
So if you're looking to start with a certain area, I would say start small rather than trying to tackle your entire closet or your entire kitchen or an entire room. Because if you start pulling everything out and trying to go through it all, it could lead to overwhelm and it could make you feel discouraged, stressed, frustrated, and then you might just give up. So I would start small, start with one cupboard or one drawer or one section of your closet to make it a little bit more manageable for you and tackle it like piece by piece rather than trying to go all in and do an entire room at one time, which could just leave you feeling overwhelmed and then you might not make as much progress as you would like.
Yeah, that is really great advice. And when it comes to planning for home organization, how would you approach integrating the color schemes into it in a way that fulfills both functionality and aesthetics?
Yeah, so I think to fulfill functionality and aesthetics, you want to base that on the purpose of the room and how you want to feel. So if you're looking for your bathroom to maybe feel like a relaxing spa type of environment, you'd maybe want to incorporate like lighter tones and natural woods and maybe some like pops of greenery, like greenery stems or floral stems or something like that, because it's going to complement the function of the space by allowing you to, use your bathroom, get ready, get prepared for your day, but also incorporates that style and aesthetic that would give you that relaxing feel. So thinking about how you want to use your space and how you want to feel while you're in it, that's going to help you hone in on the right colors for that particular space and for you.
Yeah, that sounds like psychology has a lot to do with color as well and how you incorporate them into your home. Um, I am aware that there are psychological reasons behind, like psychological factors behind colors across the board. But does it also depend on an individual's preferences and how they react to certain colors? And what experience do you have with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can actually speak to that from personal experience because, to your point, usually if someone's looking to feel calm, they're going to want to have like lighter neutral tones like whites, ivories, light grays, things like that. When I was in high school, I had license to decorate my bedroom. And so I decided to go all out with a Hawaiian themed bedroom.
Oh,
I
whoa.
painted my walls bright macaroni and cheese orange. I had a lot of bold colors,
Yeah.
patterns, prints in there. It was quite loud. And I remember feeling whenever I walked into that space, I just felt like I liked it, but I also felt very unsettled. It just gave me this very uneasy feeling. And
Yeah.
so looking back, I realized that really bold, loud colors, prints, patterns, to me, it's not very grounding. But for someone else, bold colors, patterns could be very inspiring and energizing for them. So it really is on like a personal basis how different colors make you feel. And that's one of the things that we work with our clients to figure out too is, well, maybe you really like the look of this bright, bold room, but is it really something that's going to give you that feel that you want to experience when you're in your space? So it is very personalized
Yeah.
depending on the person and your preferences.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now that you shared your personal story, I just remembered that I've done something similar as a child and teenager. When my parents were renovating the house, I was given a little bit of creative license, not all, because I wanted like a black ceiling. I somehow read in some magazine somewhere that black, just if you paint your ceiling black, it looks like it's higher or something like that, which is kind of psychotic. But I settled for bright, like saturated purple and silver wardrobe, like
Wow.
laminated on the outside. Yeah, wow, indeed. Wow is the nice way of putting it. But it was so saturated and so eye catching that now as an adult, I feel like I can never relax in my childhood bedroom. As a teenager, it wasn't so much an issue because I wanted to be that energetic and I wanted to be that inspired all the time, and I was looking for so many ways to like stimulate my brain. But now I'm looking to like relax, and I can't do that anymore in my bedroom. So I think it also probably depends on like the stage of your life as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that it's okay for your preferences to change over time. And I mean, all that means is that we are growing and changing, right? Which change is not necessarily a negative thing. So yeah, absolutely. Whether you are a, you know, recent college grad or whether you're, you know, settling down and starting a family or whether you're a high-powered executive or whether, you know, you're ready to retire, no matter what stage you're at, I feel like those preferences do change. And so being really intentional when you're decorating and designing your space, it's like taking a look inside and really seeing like, where am I at in my life right now? And how do I want to feel in my home?
Hmm. So, what are the colors that you that usually emulate this idea of being organized and cohesive?
I think a way that you can emulate that feeling of being organized and cohesive through color is being very intentional about the colors that you carry into your home. So, for example, rather than just having maybe a blue living room and a green dining room and a yellow bathroom, so just picking colors for different rooms that don't necessarily complement or speak to each other. If you have a color palette that you carry into different rooms of your home, for instance, maybe you have a living room that has a mostly white color palette that has some grays and blues and greens layered in. Then when you move on to your bathroom, maybe that one pulls in the green, but then it just has little hints of that, you know, grays or whites woven. And then when you get into your dining room, maybe that one has the gray tone with the accents of blues and greens and whites pulled in. So you're carrying the same color palette through your home, but you're focusing on different colors to emphasize in each of those rooms. So you're keeping the colors consistent, but each room is not looking exactly the same. And then you're
Mhm.
also kind of avoiding that like chomped up feel where you kind of walk through a home and it feels like every room is a different color but none of the colors really speak together or tell a cohesive story.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and that does also give some room for incorporating different styles into each of the rooms without making it seem completely cut off and super jarring. So, like the kitchen could have, if you want to go for like a white, light gray, dark gray, and then black, that kind of monochromatic thing, you could do like a white marble countertop in the kitchen, and then like dark gray accents, maybe matte black features for the like tap fixtures and stuff like that. And then in the bathroom, it could be dark and moody with more charcoal gray, and that would essentially have the same color palettes and different, like the styles are just slightly different, but it won't feel so jarring.
Absolutely. And I love what you mentioned about making the powder room a dark and moody space, because powder rooms are the perfect places to like take those design risks or do something that is maybe a little bit more bold
Oh yes,
that you wouldn't necessarily want to do or feel comfortable doing in another area of your home. Like I love if you walk into a powder bathroom and it has like a dark or moody or dramatic feel, or even that's another great room to do like a patterned wallpaper, something like that, because it's a small enough space where you're not going to get overwhelmed by the style. And it's also a space that, you know, you probably don't use as frequently, but if you have guests or you entertain, they're going to use it. And I love using the powder bath as just a way to have like a little unexpected design surprise or something for your guests that maybe they wouldn't anticipate walking into it.
Yeah, I was going to mention, I actually like thought of the pattern wallpaper as well. I've seen a few homes that do that, and it's always such a fun time. And I'm usually not a fan of like saturated pinks or saturated greens or anything saturated really, but I've seen a couple of homes that do have the powder room with like a magenta, like a dark deep fuchsia or magenta or something like that, with some dark floral greenish wallpaper. And I usually don't love the color combination, but it looks so good in the powder room. And it's kind of like the wardrobe to Narnia.
Yes.
Is that what it's called? The
Yeah.
wardrobe? That is it's the
the
wardrobe.
door.
Yeah.
The door in the wardrobe. Yeah.
Yeah, to another room, to another world. It's so fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds amazing. And yeah, those are the perfect spaces that you can do that. You can take those risks and do something that maybe you wouldn't do in your living room or your kitchen. It's a small enough space where you can really have a major impact with something like that.
Yeah. Are there any of your clients' homes where you've like particularly loved the powder room?
Actually, right now I'm in the process of working on my own powder room, and that's what I'm doing. I picked out a wall covering that has a blue and white large like palm leaf, like a banana palm leaf print to it.
Yeah.
And it has some texture to it. So if you feel it, it almost has like that grass cloth feel. And so I'm going to be putting that in there just floor to ceiling. So I'm really excited to see how that turns out.
That is amazing. I also just remembered that I saw someone's home. I can't remember on where. It might have been Architectural Digest or something like that. But I saw someone that personalized this wallpaper for their powder room, and they did like customized graphic design, little logos of them and their partner and like all the little locations they lived at before, and put that in the powder room. And it was like the color palette was matching with the rest of their home, but it was just so like so much more eclectic than the rest of their home. And that's just such a cute idea to tie it all together.
I love that. And it's so unique. And it's also, it almost makes it custom artwork for them. And it's personal. And that's the great thing about if you do wall covering too in a space, especially like a powder bathroom, is because usually there's a good amount of color, pattern, texture in the wallpaper itself. that you don't really have a need to fill it with as much artwork because the wall covering or wallpaper just acts as the artwork on its own.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an art, and I'm constantly in awe of what people do with their spaces. But when it comes to creating an organized space with decor, what are some key elements of home decor that contribute to an organized effect?
Yeah, I think when it comes to home decor and wanting it to feel organized, the best thing that you can do is use a little bit of restraint. Because I know sometimes there's a tendency to, let's say you have like a set of bookshelves that you want to, fill with decor. Sometimes there's a tendency to feel like you need to put more pieces in there than you really need. And if you just kind of pull back and say, instead of maybe putting like 5 smaller decor pieces, if you put maybe one large vase and a medium-sized framed photo or something like that, it will help make the space look full and complete, but not lead to that feeling of having your space look too cluttered or messy, or that you just have too much stuff around. Or even, if you're looking at decorating your coffee table, if you keep the pieces on your coffee table simple, like maybe you have a nice decorative tray, you have a, nice full color hardcover coffee table book, maybe you put like a small candle on top. Keeping the pieces streamlined and simple will give you that like finished pulled together look, but it won't make your space feel like there's too much stuff or there's too much going on.
Oh, yeah, that's such a good idea because I always feel anytime I move into a new place, I have this urge to fill everything up. I have like an eclectic style for my interiors and my decor, and I love the cluttered, like the neat clutter look. And so I constantly have this urge. Always finding this urge to just fill everything up with my like so-called neat clutter, which is an oxymoron, I know, but like I just keep gaslighting myself into thinking that because it's intentional, it is neat, but it's not. So what advice do you have for pulling back on it if you've already gone past the line, and you haven't you haven't kept it simple and streamlined? What advice do you have for pulling it back a bit?
I would say just take a look at the pieces you have and make sure, like, are they pieces that still inspire you? Are they pieces that you really love? Pieces that still light you up? And if not, if there's anything that, doesn't really evoke that feeling, then maybe find a different home for it. Or maybe just, whether it's putting it in a different area of your home that doesn't have as much decor, or if it's a piece that maybe you've outgrown or just doesn't really mean as much to you, then maybe look to donate it and someone else could enjoy it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And putting it in a way where it's like you find a new home for it makes it feel less tragic.
hmm Yes, absolutely. Because it's still in your home, but you've just found a better, more designated place for it.
Yeah, and it's comforting to know that someone else will treasure it a bit more than you probably ever will. But for those who are starting on a blank canvas, what are some key things to consider when selecting furniture pieces to complement their space?
Yeah, so for that, you always want to start by looking at functionality first. So, how much seating do you need based on, how many people live in your home, or do you entertain family and friends? How many people would you like to be able to sit? How much storage do you need? Are you looking to store things like games or extra blankets or movies, books, or, your kids' toys, for instance? Figuring out how much seating you need and how much furniture pieces would help you accomplish that without making your room feel too full or without making it feel crowded. Once you've identified your seating, then you can see where you can maybe layer in some pieces beyond that. So maybe putting a floor lamp in one corner or a potted plant in another, or a table lamp on, a side table. And then another thing that I always see with clients that I'm going to suggest as well is if you have like ample seating and storage, I know a tendency is if you have like a blank wall or an empty corner, they feel like they need to put in some kind of furniture piece there to fill it in or just make it feel complete. And I always suggest that if your seating and your storage needs are taken care of, don't put in another furniture piece that doesn't really serve you or serve a purpose. Put like a nice wall mirror on the wall, because not only is that going to fill in the space, but it's also going to reflect even more light to help your space feel bigger. And if not, a corner is that perfect place to put a potted plant, something that has a little bit of greenery. It brings the outdoors in and brings a little life to your space and helps tie your whole space together without adding another clunky furniture piece that you really don't have a need for.
Yeah, that is such a good idea. And the plant thing as well is pretty versatile, because if you do in the future need to incorporate more storage or seating, you can easily move the plants. Well, most of the plants that are most of the indoor plants that are out there, you can probably move to somewhere else. You can fit in somewhere else just fine. Whereas if you need to get rid of storage and seating, chances are you might need to move it to storage solutions, or you might have to find a new home for it, which will be more work.
Absolutely. And some clients even say, they're not good with plants. They're afraid of having real plants, afraid of not being able to care for them well. And there's absolutely no shame if you are not a plant person to have an artificial or a faux plant. There's
Yeah.
plants out nowadays where they don't look as artificial as they used to. They look real. So even if you put one of those plants in like a nice natural woven basket and then just put in some like potting stones on top, no one will be able to tell that it's not a real plant, and it'll still look great and complement your home.
Oh, that is 100% me. And also when it comes to, well, just vouching for the artificial plants, right? For people who are renting and tend to need to move every year or every 2 years, well, the thing is, artificial plants are also lighter and they're easier to transport. Whereas real plants, well, I love real plants, don't get me wrong. And if you can take care of real plants and are able to put them in your home, like by all means go ahead, and that's absolutely encouraged. But if you are unable to, like Natalie said, don't shy away from artificial plants, because they also, like, to their credit, they're easier to transport, and some of them are, like, even from IKEA or Kmart now, they don't look that artificial, as long as you put a little bit of work into it, and it's just fine. So at least there's some green in there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as those plants too, they're especially helpful if you happen to have a space where you want to add a little greenery, but maybe there's not a lot of windows, or maybe it's an area that doesn't get a lot of natural light. That way you don't have to worry about the care and the maintenance. The plant's going to thrive regardless.
Yeah, for sure. That's also a really good tip for people who travel a lot and tend to have to find people to house it, to take care of the plants. That would be a good solution for those people. But as far as storage solutions go, what kind of solutions would blend seamlessly with the overall decor scheme and visual appeal in general?
Beautiful decorative cabinets can be useful for storing anything
Ooh.
from your kids' toys to like board games, books, anything that you might want to have handy. They're great because on the outside, they just look like, beautiful decor pieces. Maybe they have like a fluted detail or a beaded detail, or maybe they have really sleek hardware on them. But on the inside, they're able to fit your essentials, or maybe you could even put some storage baskets in there to help keep things organized and within easy reach when you need them. But otherwise, they're just hidden and stored away in these beautiful decorative cabinets when they're not being used.
Yeah. And do you have any favorites of your own in your own home?
Yeah. So one of the tricks that I always go to for a client who has kids, and I have this in my own home as well, is one of the biggest challenges clients have is how to keep their kids' toys stored. so that they don't feel like, at the end of the day, they're sitting in a toy box and they're surrounded by all the things. So one of the ways that I've done that for clients and for myself is if you have like a nice, beautiful wood console table, if you get storage baskets or containers that are in like a nice woven material, like a rope woven storage basket or a fabric storage basket, and get them in identical sizes and colors, then you can, put the toys in there or things that your kids need. It looks beautiful again from the outside, but it's also keeping things within easy reach because, let's be honest, if you have kids or toys, things have to be able to be accessible. So it's a way to have things available when you need them, but also something that looks aesthetically pleasing when they're not in use. Another way we've done this is for a particular client, they were using their dining room instead of a formal dining space. They wanted to use it as like a homework space for their kids. So we still put in like a beautiful sideboard or a buffet that you would find in a dining room, but instead we put it in there, and rather than having, serveware or plates or, things like that, entertaining essentials, we used it specifically so their kids could store their homework essentials, paper, school supplies, books, things like that. So incorporating those furniture pieces that really look beautiful aesthetically, but have that functionality and that storage is a way to do that.
Yeah, that is such a good idea. I think that like that kind of reminds me of how well I got a new TV console earlier last year, I think, and my old TV console, I kind of just put it. Well, I didn't have a kitchen counter, a kitchen island yet, and I was finding like myself run out of kitchen countertop space, and this sounds super odd, because it is quite odd, but again, eclectic interior, so like it doesn't look that odd. I ended up shifting my old TV console to the kitchen, and that's somehow ended up being the space that I used for snacks and for other like pots and pans that I can't fit into my regular storage. And it helps like act as just a extra countertop space. I can put things on there when I don't need them on my main kitchen countertop. So it's like just not the usual functionality of it, but it still works. And that way you don't have to like, because let's like, to be honest, that TV console was not in good shape to like resell it or rehome it very much. I didn't feel good about giving it to someone else because like there were water stains on it. So I just kept it in my kitchen and it worked perfectly fine. Just for context, because I know it sounds really weird, my apartment is pretty small. So it does work out. The kitchen's not big at all. So the kitchen console, TV console in the kitchen is odd, but it works. So that goes for like probably anything else that can serve as storage. It doesn't have to be the usual way of using it. But now that we've spoken a bit about home decor and storage solutions and colors, what do you think is the importance of lighting? How do you think it can influence our perception of how a space is organized?
Yeah, absolutely. Lighting can help most importantly from like a functional perspective. So whether you're entertaining in the evening or watching TV or reading, making sure you have the appropriate light when you need it can influence that perception of organization because you have the lighting available right when you need it. So for example, if you have like a favorite spot on your sofa or a chair in your living room that you love to read, having an intentionally placed floor lamp behind the chair, or maybe a table lamp on the side table that's right next to that chair nearby, just to give you that extra task lighting when you need it, is going to be so helpful for you. Or in the evenings, if you're entertaining, just being able to turn on extra floor lamps or table lamps so your guests can still see to have conversations or play cards or a board game. It's going to help with that perception of organization because just like everyday essentials that you need, you've got lighting there when and where you need it to.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I feel like that's something that, well, at least from what I can see with my friends who aren't so much into interior design, that is sometimes a thing that's overlooked because we try and just make use of what we already have as far as like the downlights go or what's already been installed in the apartment or the house. But there's definitely no harm in adding a bit more with lamps, especially when it comes to like if you want ambient lighting and something that's less direct, that can really help a lot because the overhead lighting or the down lights that you get might not necessarily be the type of lighting that you want, and so it's very much okay to add more lighting. But what should we consider whenever we select or purchase our lighting?
Yeah, you would want to consider first the lighting that you already have. So, taking a look, like you mentioned, in your home, do you have overhead lighting like a chandelier, or do you have pendant lights, or do you have a flush mount or recessed lighting? Take a look at what you already have and then build upon that. So, maybe if you have that overhead lighting, it's adding in those floor lamps or table lamps, or maybe in your kitchen it's adding in some of that under cabinet lighting. So then that way, when you're prepping food or cooking meals, you have even more light that's going to be shining on that countertop where you're going to be, prepping your food and meals and things like that. And also consider the size of the space that you're going to be putting the lighting in. So, for instance, if a lamp, you're going to be putting that on a side table or a nightstand, just take a look at the width of the table or the piece you're putting it on compared to the width of the lamp base or the lampshade to make sure that it's not too large for the furniture piece it's going on top of. And also for kitchen pendants, for instance, a good rule of thumb when you're taking a look at the size of those is to have maybe about 2 times the width of the pendant in between each one. So if you have a kitchen island and you're looking to get 2 lights for your island, if you're looking at lights that are 12 inches in width, you'll want to make sure you have about 24 inches of space in between those 2 lights when you put them in. So size, I think, is a consideration that sometimes is overlooked with lighting, but something you definitely want to pay attention to. And then also the type of bulb that you put in, because there's so many differences in the tone of lighting, whether it's a cooler light, a warmer, more yellow light, or a light that more mimics the look of daylight. And then also the lumens that are in the bulbs. So lumens, it's a little bit different than the wattage, but the higher the lumens, that brighter the bulb's going to be. So if you want to have more of that like soft ambient lighting, maybe you pick a bulb that has like a softer white or a hint of a yellow tone and has less lumens in it. So it's going to give you that more subtle effect as opposed to like a brighter, harsher effect.
That is such great advice, and it is stuff that I actually haven't heard of before, probably because I've never talked about lighting to this extent, but it is very, very important. I feel like lots of people are really, really, maybe just to me, but at least as the people that I know, we are always very particular about our choice of lighting. And even if you aren't, you might not even realize how affected you are by the lighting until you actually change it. So it's always worth exploring. You know, light bulbs aren't super, super expensive. They're not a pricey investment by any means. So switching it out for something else, just to trial run it and see how you feel, could be a worthy pursuit. Um, yeah, but
Absolutely. It's
could
something
you
that I've
share?
helped
Yeah,
clients with as well, too.
yeah, for sure. And could you share some examples of how strategic lighting placement can reinforce the functionality of the different areas within a home?
Yeah, one specific example that comes to mind is, let's say you have a home office. So maybe you're working from home and you already have a light fixture overhead. Maybe you have a flush mount light or a small chandelier in your home office. Having like a table lamp on your desk or maybe a sideboard table so that you can turn on a soft dim light rather than just the bright overhead light, especially let's say if you have to catch up on work emails in the evening. Just being able to have that option other than the bright overhead light, it's going to give you that ambiance and just make it a little bit more, easy on you visually if you're, working late at night without having to have that bright overhead light on.
Oh, yeah, that is reminding me that I have to actually get a lamp for my study desk because I only use my computer, and then if I need to write things down, I use the lighting for my computer, which is not good. And I tend to not even switch the lights on in my study room, which is not great either. So I definitely need to do that, but that's besides the point. My next question for you, now that we have covered lighting pretty extensively, is overall, how would you balance personal style preferences with the need for practical organization solutions?
Yeah, so I would look for furniture pieces that have plenty of hidden or concealed storage. When I've looked at furniture pieces for clients, measured the insides of the shelves to make sure that, we can fit storage baskets or storage containers in there, making sure that the furniture pieces are deep enough that they provide all of that storage, but then paying attention to the outside too. So maybe the piece on the outside is reflective of their taste and style, like maybe it's a wood media cabinet that has a beaded detail or a fluted detail, something like that. Or it has hardware that is in, their favorite metal finish, whether they like silver or gold tones, or even like iron or black tones. So just making sure that the piece from the outside ties into the style and aesthetic they're going for, but that it has ample space on the inside to fit, storage baskets, toys, games, books, or whatever it is that they're looking to store in their space.
Could you also provide advice on how to maintain an organized and visually appealing home environment over time? Especially
Yeah.
when we are changing tastes and lifestyles, like you said, through the years, it can be really difficult to keep it in a way that is consistent with what we've liked previously.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the point that we talked about in the beginning where, your tastes, your preferences, your style can change over time. So there's nothing wrong with, editing. You can always be editing, meaning the pieces that look to either support you in your life now or need to support you in your life, or the pieces that you love, the things that inspire you can change. So it's okay to every so often just look around your home and just ask yourself, is there anything here that no longer inspires me? Is there anything that I no longer need? Or is there anything that just doesn't fit with, the style or the vibe or the aesthetic that I'm going for? And if so, it's okay to find a new home for it, donate the item if you can. But yeah, just taking that inventory every so often and just making sure, is everything in this space really speaking to me? Is this really resonate with who I am today?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like that is something that we definitely have to do every now and again if we feel like, oh, this little thing here is really annoying me because I don't really like feel connected to it anymore. That's probably an indicator of when to take stock of the things that you have fallen out of love with.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
Lastly, are there any books or resources such as YouTube channels, podcasts, or major figures in the industry that you'd recommend looking to for further guidance on this topic?
Yes, there are so many, but there's two that stand out. So if you're familiar with Marie Kondo, she is like the OG of home organization. She has a book called The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up. And I think she also has a show on Netflix now. And another organization is called The Home Edit. They're a very fun, colorful company that shares all kinds of organizational tips. They have products through their website. I believe they also have books, a TV show, and they also have a podcast. So those are two great resources if you're looking for just different organizational tips and ways to get inspired on how to best organize your own home.
That's amazing. This sounds like great recommendations. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Now we'll move on to the open mic section, and this is your opportunity to talk about anything that you're passionate about, and it doesn't have to be related to the topic at all. So take it away. The floor is yours.
One thing that I would also suggest when it comes to designing your home, whether you're looking to be more organized or if you're looking to have a home that reflects your taste and style, ultimately design your home not based on particular trends, because trends are always going to come and go, but design it based on what speaks to you and what really resonates with you and what makes you feel good. Because when I'm designing a home, whether it's for myself or for clients, we're always looking to design a space that is going to last and grow with them over time and something that feels more timeless. So don't feel like you need to always follow the current of whatever, the trends are that are out there, but just choose ultimately what speaks to you, because really you're the one that's going to be in your home the most and enjoying it. So you want it to be a space that really feels reflective of you and your style and one that you love.
For sure. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And apart from coastal style, which I know you mentioned before that was kind of your favorite interior style, if you were to move homes and renovate your house, what is something that you'd incorporate in your new house?
That's a really good question, because we actually did move last summer. So we are in the process of decorating and designing our new home. One of the things... Yeah,
Sorry.
so that's okay. One of the things that I am incorporating throughout our new home is pieces that are comfortable, that look great, but that are also family friendly. So one of the biggest things that I'm balancing in our design is, the fact that we want things obviously to look great and that we can entertain and, have people over, but also keeping in mind that we do have young kids and things get messy and, our kids like to have snacks on the sofa and things like that. So incorporating a lot of furniture pieces that have fabrics that are performance fabrics, that are family friendly, that are easier to clean, kind of merging that balance between like having a home that looks great, but also is, real life happens here. Furniture pieces are going to get used, messes are going to get made. So it's pieces that are durable and easier to clean, along with pulling in those elements of that coastal style that I love so much.
Yeah, for sure. That is such an important thing to think about, like having to get things that are heavy duty as well when you have a family and kids that are inevitably going to mess things up, and they should be allowed to do so as well. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. I really enjoyed this conversation. If our listeners want to find out more about you and what you do, where can they go?
Yeah, they could go to my website, cnchomedesign.com, and you can also find me on all the socials, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, LinkedIn. I'm out there, so.
Amazing. We'll link those in the show notes. Thank you so much, Natalie, once again for joining us today. And thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Thank you for having me, Marie. I really appreciate it. It was so great to chat with you.
You've been listening to Room by Room, produced by the Home Organization Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes like this from across 10 life management perspectives can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and other podcasting apps available on your smart devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it so we can grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at ho.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Gabriella Yastra. Thanks for tuning in.